What's going on, you beautiful people? Today I'm going to give you a video that is requested by you guys, and that's how to price check, how to snipe items, and how to appraise your items on the ESO market. And we're going to jump right on into it because this is a great question to answer right now because there's lots of new motives, lots of new things being put on the market. So how do you value it? What traits are good? What's going up? What's going down? Should you snipe items? Where do you go to snipe items? We're going to talk about all of it. So let's start with the simple. How do you price check an item? And there's plenty of resources that can do that for you, like different, like the Tamriels savings app is a great resource. I usually put them all in the description below, like where you can go for Xbox NA, where you can go for PC. But the problem with that is that everywhere is slightly different. And so I'm going to teach you how you on your own console can price check at any point at any time. So we are here in Mournhold to look at the prices. Now, Mournhold is the central trading hub of all of ESO. So that's why we came here, and that's what we're here for. I'm actually in 4 Mournhold traders. And so what that kind of gives me an even greater kind of view to the ESO market. So let's say we're trying to appraise... let's just pick an item. Let's say I don't think I have anything super crazy that I want to sell. Actually, let's look at the Signet of Pariah. I know that this is a very popular set, but for those of you who don't know, because traits are important, is that most DLC jewelry pieces can drop in Arcane, or any of the other 2 traits, so Mag, Stam, and Health. So this could be an item that may be listed in one trader here for a decent amount of money, but it could have a different trait. So here right away, my bubble is burst, and it is not worth as nearly as much as I thought it would, which leads me to kind of think that maybe I should actually build a Mag character. But I want to sell, I actually have listed right now a Dark Convergence Inferno staff that's sharpened. So we are actually going to see what I could sell that for realistically. That's not jewelry. It's an Inferno staff, so we're going to go to Inferno staff. So after that is a price drop, let me tell you. And just a couple days ago they were worth $500,000. Now they're not even 125K. That's very sad. So number one way to price check to begin with, go to the central trading hub of ESO and look to see what things are selling for there. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, Jake, this is what they're listed for. What are they selling for? And now, if you're in a trading guild, this is where that extra insight comes in, because you can actually go to the history and go all the way down to purchases, and you can see, here's a great example, the breaches of Dark Convergence selling for 25K. So that means that someone purchased this 2 minutes ago. Now, we don't know the trait, unfortunately, but this gives us a great idea as a good baseline for what we can sell our items for. And obviously, I saw this earlier, an ice staff for 15K, and I thought to myself, oh, that should be at least 60, I would think. But that's neither here nor there. And then we can continue to look through all of these items here until we see something that we're interested in. Oh, Plague Break Helmet, 7K, probably overvalued or undervalued, excuse me. So how do you know how to value an item? And that really comes down to an interesting question. And that's what trait is good, because the traits are going to determine everything. What do I mean by that? Let's say you get a sharpened staff versus an infused staff versus a training staff. Knowing what staff, or like knowing what the staff is used for, or knowing what the set's used for, PvE versus PvP, and then usually PvP can be breaking down in between ganking versus like open world combat. And what I mean by that is usually gank builds will rely more on the divine trait and the sharpened or Nernhold, whereas a lot of times like open world relies more on impen and sometimes infused for the 2 body pieces of the chest and the legs. So that's a great way to kind of look at traits on those items. Now ask yourself too, something like Pariah, as I was just looking at too, the Stam one is going to sell significantly higher than the Mag one, because while people like me are very interested in a Magicka set. Most Stam users, they really want that bulk. Whereas a lot of Mag characters, they'll rely just on their mobility. You can see this mobility bar here. They'll rely on that and wear more DPS sets as opposed to wearing a full defense set like Pariah. Even though there's a pretty decent Mag Stam split, but there are definitely more Stam characters in PvP than Mag characters. So that's important to consider too. So let's talk about different ways that you can appraise an item besides what I've just shown you. So now, besides the apps, which I will always have in the description below, you can always go look at those as different resources. Look at what people are selling them for in zone chat. So if you see somebody that's putting out a grand message like buying XYZ 1, 2, 3, 10K, 20K, 15, 10, those are usually at about half of their value, sometimes a third of their value. So if you see people buying it, quick buying it in zone chat, you know that it's worth more than that. Now let's say you've gone to Mournhold and unfortunately are unable to see the history. How do you know how to list it for? And there's two key ways that I determine what I'm going to list the item for. And that's, do I need the gold now or do I need the gold later? And do I care if it sells? That's part of like the second piece. So if your goal is to sell something right away, be the cheapest person to list it in Mournhold. That's quite that simple. I wouldn't undercut your guild mates, but if, say, you're in Ashes and Lunacy has it listed for 10K, you put it in 9K for Ashes of the Red Mountain. It's that simple. Now, that's the first method to make money. If you're like me and you have 4 Mournhold traders, I'll usually split the method. If I know an item's new, like Dark Convergence, I want to get rid of it right away. I want to get the maximum amount of value, but I want to move it immediately. You want to get that thing out of your inventory and purchased by somebody. It's the same with companion gear. New items drop value exponentially. So your goal is going to be to move that bad boy ASAP. Now, say I have something that I know is worth a lot, but I know that there's not a huge market for it, or the people looking for it, they may not want to spend the cash now, but they may later. That's like if you've got like a deadly sword, or a deadly dagger, or a vicious death sword. You know that you have something that's valuable, but the market's not the greatest for it. Like if you have gold rings, like your goal with those items are not going to be to move it immediately. Your goal is to kind of eke as much value out as you can. So I usually split my listings in half of newer items, sell immediately, items that I'm going to hold on to and try to get the most amount of money for. When I list something that I'm not getting the most amount of money for, I'm specifically posting either the same amount or even sometimes even higher than other people in guild chats or like in the guild traders. Sometimes I'm even pushing the value up with the assumption in my mind that like, okay, these other people's will probably sell. Mine will kind of, trickle on the old wait list there for a little bit, but eventually it'll sell. So that's where you can get more value for your items. I suggest doing that on older items and not newer ones. So let's talk about flipping items and is it worth it for you? Now, I will tell you the way that I made my first million gold on ESO was flipping items, but I did it in a non-conventional way. So your goal is not going to be to see something that's listed at 10% of its value off and then list it up at full value, because you're going to be paying the listing fee, the guild trader fee, and that's why your goal when you list an item in a guild trader is to make the maximum amount of money, not to get like a 10 to 20% return on your item. Now, how I made my first million on ESO was selling Bewitched Sugar Skull. So what I would do is that I would sell mine for 1,000 each on Xbox NA, which was a lot. But what I would do is that instead of making more Sugar Skulls, because I never needed to, is I would buy all of the Mournhold that were listed cheaply and then list them up at my price. So I had my stock to sell, and then I had others that I had purchased. What I was doing with that is I was taking them out of the market and then putting them back on the market at my rate, so that way people weren't buying them to use. This was also during the Mid-Year Mayhem event, not this past one, but the one last year, so that there was a high demand for them, and there was not, I was kind of editing, the stock price, just a little bit of tweaking there, and that's how you can get more bang for your buck, because you're the people still need it, and then you have it, and you have it more often than other people, so you can eke up those prices a little bit. Now, another way, my number one suggestion for you to snipe items would be, is that just going to all the outlaw refuges, Vardenfell, the Gold Coast, Daggerfall, all the starter zones. I've seen such amazing deals in those places, you would not believe what I've seen. I was able to get a Maelstrom Arena style page for 1K. People thought that it was just a garbage event motif, and then I sold it within an hour for 300K. So my suggestion would be pick an item or set of items, like a set. So look for Mother Sorrow, look for Spinners, look for Briarheart, look for Pariah, look for Sultan motifs. Look for something specific, and then go out and go to all those traders and go look for them in those traders. It helps to know, because even I don't know the value. Unfortunately, items go up and down and up and down, and it's hard to keep up with, okay, this is going up, this is going down. But if you know what's selling in Mournhold, because we just talked about price checking, you can then go around and see what's severely under market value. I would say if you're sniping, you want to make at least double your money back. Whether that's 20 to 40, 50 to 100, 100 to 200. And you don't want to do it on risky items. So if it's a risky item, like those Maelstrom motifs, they started to lose their value right at the end of the event. So even though I would see some listed for 100 that I thought I could get, or 50 that I thought I could get for 100, I was like, I told myself 25 or less, because I don't know if I'm going to get stuck holding these, because I don't know what the demand to buy them is. How do you know what the demand to buy is? Well, then it's just simple. You go back to your beautiful Mournhold traders, you go to history, and you go to purchases. How often are they selling? What are they selling for? Who's buying them? Are they buying them in bulk? Is one person buying multiple of them? These are important questions to ask yourself, and the answer is right here for you. Even if you're in an Elden Root or Wayrest trader, this is a great way to figure out what item is going for how much. This is amazing knowledge to have, and I'm shocked that most people don't even look at this, because you can see items are moving, and this could be a great way to see, if all of your potent Nirn Cruxes are selling pretty much immediately to the same person, that means you probably listed them a little low. But if you have items that are going, kind of passively over time, one sells 1 hour, one sells the next hour, that's probably a decent listing value. So these are all important things to consider when you're listing up your items. This is also a great way if you're like an enchanter, if you want to sell raw mats, see what they're going for. Because a lot of times we look at Deshaun and we see what's listed. You don't get to see what's selling. So always look at what's selling and not just what's listed. So, and again, sniping, focus on a specific thing. Even if it's looking at raw mats. I know someone who found a stack of 200 tempering alloys for 100K in a sewer. And I tell you that person probably took that and made $500,000 gold on it. And there are tons of deals right now. Tons of them. And when you search, you could do two ways to search. You could either search for your specific items, to say I was looking for the Dark Sea Staff. Oh, it's down to 75K. Oh God, it's just going down and down. But let's say I was a general sniper. What could I do? Well, I would search by time. I gotta flip it again here. Oop. I would look to see what was the most freshly listed. This is how I would do it. So where it says 1 month, I don't even think it's been up for 10 minutes yet. So this could be a great deal. Will I get it? No. But this could then be a great deal. It means that this is just now listed. And you can always hold the X button or whatever the button is on your console, by the way, to search for a specific item. And search by time. Specifically, I would go to the refuges. And then if an item has not been up there for more than a day, there's a great chance it could be a good deal. If you're searching by time and you're looking at it and you go, that's a pretty good deal. Now, if it's been on there for like 4 or 5 days, you might want to step back and think, how many people have looked at this? Do I want to buy this? But that's just an extra kind of helpful economic tips for you guys. Again, you guys recommended this video, and I'm so thankful that you guys are recommending videos, because it makes it easier for me to figure out what I'm going to do next. I'm going to try to be more consistent with videos. I don't know if you guys prefer 2 a week, 1 a week, 3 a week. If you have thoughts on that, just leave a comment below. But other than that, I just want to thank you guys again for almost 2,000 YouTube subscribers. It's been absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to see you the next one, and I'll see you then. Alright, bye guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jake Clips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.